This is Vic, and I'm going to give you an update on my 2014 Cadillac ELR and give you a demonstration of the absolutely phenomenal gasoline mileage that I've been able to achieve with the car. But before I talk about the ELR, I want to first talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, something that I feel strongly about. I am a prostate cancer survivor. I was diagnosed and treated for prostate cancer in 2007. Now, before I tell you about my treatment, first I want to go on record and say that I believe September is National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. I think that happens every September. And for those guys out there that may have a high PSA score, if you don't know what your PSA score is, find out what your PSA score is, because my first indication that something was wrong with me was a result of my annual physical, my blood test. My doctor came back and told me my PSA score was high. He referred me to a specialist. The specialist scared me by telling me he wanted to operate on me, and I heard ugly rumors about incontinence and impotence side effects of having to go through prostate surgery. So I sought an alternative, and I sought and found the CyberKnife. The CyberKnife treated my prostate cancer for 4 days in a row. All I had to do on my way to work, I drove to work, and for 4 days in a row, I stopped for treatments that took about 45 minutes. And I'm a strong proponent of the CyberKnife. The CyberKnife treats not only prostate cancer, but it also treats cancers and tumors anywhere in the body or the brain without surgery. I did not have to go through surgery. I would lay still and took about fully dressed. I was fully dressed, and it took about 45 minutes for each treatment. And it did not interfere with my relationship between my wife and I. None at all. Okay, now my understanding is that, well, excuse me, I misspoke. Let me start over again. I'm proposing that anyone who is willing to fight prostate cancer don the colors of a Spartan sometime during the month of September. Now you see the ribbon that you see right now is the crimson color of a Spartan. Now, those of you who are familiar with the crimson color of a Spartan may be familiar with the movie 300. And that is where I got the idea to make the color to support prostate cancer the color of a Spartan. Now, we can fight prostate cancer and defeat it if we use the CyberKnife. The CyberKnife is an absolutely wonderful tool. Like I said, I went through treatments 4 days in a row, 45 minutes per day, and there was absolutely zero interruption between my relationship between my wife and I. But the main thing that I wanted to get to was the CyberKnife and using the color of the Spartans as a symbol of prostate cancer awareness. I think if men know their PSA scores, and if women encourage their men to find out encourage their husbands or boyfriends to find out what their PSA score is, then we can actually kill prostate cancer without having to go through surgery by using the CyberKnife. The CyberKnife is an absolutely wonderful tool. It is absolutely glorious. Today is the year 2015. It is 2015 right now, and I have been totally cancer-free. The CyberKnife has cured my cancer. I can say that with high confidence. And there's no side effects. In my case, there was no impotence, no incontinence suffered, none of that. None of the side effects of the ugly surgery that I've heard that people may go through.
My name is Peter. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in January of 2009. For those of you that have been recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, you know that the numbers mean a lot. And in my case, I was diagnosed with a stage T1C cancer. My Gleason score was a 6, and my PSA was a 4.2. I think everyone knows that there's been some controversy around the accuracy of PSA testing, but in my case, it clearly was accurate and diagnosed the presence of cancer. Getting a cancer diagnosis is obviously a pretty traumatic thing to go through. I remember when I actually was getting the information from my urologist, and I heard those fateful words, "Yes, we found the presence of cancer," after my biopsy. It was kind of surreal. I interviewed probably 30 people around the country to get an understanding of what I was up against. And some people I talked to had radical prostatectomies and were rendered impotent and incontinent. Some people had gone through proton beam therapy, which required having to relocate for up to 8 or 9 weeks at a time. One of my colleagues, I do a little baseball umpiring, and he happens to be an external beam radiation oncologist. And I went to see him for a second opinion and looked at that option, and that was another 9-week daily routine. I never entertained surgery. Surgery was an absolute last resort. It all came down to having to decide, what's the most practical thing for me, what's the least invasive, and then I happened to get, through my readings, educated about CyberKnife. And that really became a real eye-opener. I'm a very kind of reasoned, logic-driven person, and when I heard about the fact that the treatment could be collapsed down into a 4-day period, that it was non-invasive, that it had a linear tracking system that took into consideration the fact that the prostate moves during treatment, this all resonated with me. I think the most terrifying thing about being a man diagnosed with prostate cancer, particularly for me at the age of 55, which is very young, are the issues of incontinence and erectile dysfunction and impotence. And fortunately, I'm happy to say that in the aftermath of the treatment, I still have my potency, I'm not incontinent, and my numbers have gone from 4.2 down to 1.6. I'm at the 9-month mark right now, and so far things are tracked really well. The most important thing you can do for yourself is to get educated. Educate yourself to a point where you're as conversant on the topic as the people treating you. And there is no one right answer. Ultimately, it's going to be a very deeply personal decision you're going to make, but do it from a position of strength by being informed, by being educated. Do not necessarily take one practitioner's point of view, because in some respects, they are selling their craft. And you need to ultimately arrive at what is the best course of action for you, based on your diagnosis, the stage of cancer you have, and take your time. Don't rush into something. Don't hit the panic button. You have time to make an informed decision. I'm self-employed. I work in marketing communications, and it's a very demanding business. You cannot step away from a client base for that long without losing the client, quite frankly. And so that was a factor. It wasn't, the sole factor, but it was an important factor. On Christmas night, 2008, I proposed to my now wife. And 5 weeks later, I got the cancer diagnosis, which immediately challenged our relationship. And it was a really, really a tough situation to have to go through. And fortunately, my wife, who stuck with me throughout the entire process, was as educated on this illness as I am, really worked with me in conjunction to arrive at a decision that was best for us. Hopefully your viewership is not faint of heart, but in the spirit of my wife, on the second day of my treatment, she said, "Let's see if the CyberKnife is having any impact." And we made love on the second day of my treatment. And boy, was that a reaffirming day. It really was. For 4 straight days, I went in, I laid down and listened to my iPod. I got caught up in my music library. It was kind of relaxing by the 3rd day. After the 3rd treatment, I did have some difficulty with urination. And I was given Flomax as a option, and I never did end up taking the Flomax. I ended up resolving the situation on my own, and I've never had an issue since. I had my treatment at UCSF. I was treated by Dr. Alex Gottschalk, and the staff there was really, really warm. It was fascinating, actually. You know, I work in technology, so I'm really appreciative of technical gadgetry, and this was an amazing piece of machinery. You have to bring a sense of humor to life. Life, what is the philosophy? Life is fatal disease. It's a very existential comment. But it was true that you need to live your life and make every day count, and that this is not a death sentence. It is, you know, part and parcel of living. And what's the most intelligent course of action you can take to get through this? And I feel like I've made absolutely the right call here.
I'm going to speak on the Cadillac ELR, my 2014 Cadillac ELR. And remember, I want to make sure that everyone understands that this same gas mileage and technology is available in two different cars that General Motors produces, through the Chevrolet Volt and the Cadillac ELR. Now, today, August 13th, 2015, I actually got 173 miles per gallon on my daily commute. Now, the way I achieved let me back up. In other presentations, I've said that I did not modify my driving style. Now, today, I did slightly modify my driving style. I didn't accelerate as hard as I usually do. And what I gained is very obvious. I gained 173 miles per gallon average today while driving a total of 46.8 miles. For 36.3 miles, I used electricity that was stored in the power supply without the generator or the engine running. For 10.5 miles, I used electricity that came from the generator or the engine while it was running. And I slightly modified my driving style. And as a result of that, I received 173 miles per gallon. I got 173 miles per gallon today. And as you can see, my lifetime, right under that, my lifetime miles per gallon, or since I've owned the car, is now increased up to 81.4. I anticipate that I will be well above 85 within a few weeks, within a month or two. And again, I'll repeat this again because the ELR is a different class of automobile than the Chevrolet Volt. I'm not trying to shit on the Volt or anything like that, because the Volt is a good solid car. It feels good. I owned a Volt. The largest reason that I went to the Cadillac ELR was because I needed a car that would accommodate me more comfortably. I'm 6 foot tall, and the Volt I couldn't stretch it like I wanted to on long trips in the Volt. And the Cadillac ELR has an absolutely extremely outstanding and luxurious interior. The materials and the metals used to construct the ELR are absolutely fantastic. And to top it off, I maxed out right now at 173 miles per gallon. And I suspect that the 173 mpg is the tip of the iceberg. I'm just beginning to realize the full benefits of having an extended range electric vehicle. I anticipate that I'm going to go above 200 miles per gallon one of these days. And my average is going to increase quickly as well.